welcome to Primetime News on TV1. It is the 4th of April 2020 and I'm Zaimal Ratnayaka for the Newsfirst team. Before we move ahead with our news bulletin today, let's start off with a look at the breakdown of the news items that we will be bringing to you throughout our bulletin. First up, we will be taking a look at the COVID-19 situation or an update of the situation here in Sri Lanka. Secondly, we will be talking about the grievances of labourers or daily wage earners who have been hit as a result of the COVID-19 situation and the curfew that is imposed in Sri Lanka. Thirdly, we will be talking about whether Parliament will be reconvened as a result of the challenging time that we are currently existing in. And we will be also talking about the global situation pertaining to COVID-19 during our news bulletin as well. Moving on, in local news, we at News First understand that this is a challenging time for all of us here at home as well as across the globe. However, we would like to start off our news bulletin on a lighter note. Accordingly, we know that security forces and many other state officials have gone beyond the call of duty to ease the pressure that has been put on the general public as a result of the COVID-19 outbreak here in Sri Lanka. And one such example is how the members of the Sri Lanka police entertained the people living in housing complexes in Maligavatta and Maradana yesterday after they were placed under quarantine in their homes. Let's take a look. Let's now take a look at some visuals of the Sri Lanka police band entertaining residents of the Kilapane area. More local news now. As a result of the curfew that was imposed in Sri Lanka, the human activities across the island has been limited, and therefore as a result of that, Sri Lanka's quality levels of air and water has also improved.
According to data provided by the Air Quality Monitor at the US Embassy, Colombo's air quality levels stood at 50 as per 5 p.m. today. This means it has a moderate rating. HDS Premasiri, a senior scientist at the National Building Research Organization, told Newsfirst that the air quality has improved due to the reduction in the movement of vehicles as a result of the curfew. He recalled that air pollution levels were much higher prior to the imposition of curfew. The country's air quality levels plummeted in November last year, caused due to smog in neighboring India, posing a risk to sensitive groups. The Central Environmental Authority said the quality of the water in the Kalani River had improved due to a drop in industrial effluents being released into the waterways. The CEA in a statement observed that the turbidity levels of water in the 145-kilometer-long Kalani River, which cuts across 5 districts, has remained positive, unlike any other period in the recent past.
We will now direct your attention to the current situation pertaining to COVID-19 here at home. Now, 3 new COVID-19 patients were identified from the country today and 8 people were tested positive for the virus yesterday. This brought the total number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in the country up to 162. On a positive note, 27 people have completely recovered from the COVID-19 virus, and the total number of COVID-19 related deaths in the country currently stands at 5.
The Ministry of Health reports that 131 COVID-19 patients are receiving treatment at hospitals. 273 people suspected to have contracted the virus are under observation. The fifth casualty of COVID-19 was reported this morning from the Valikanda Base Hospital. This was the first COVID-19 related death that was reported from the Valikanda Base Hospital. According to our correspondent, 5 Grama Niladhari divisions in Beruwala, including Pannila, have been placed under isolation after a person tested positive in the area for COVID-19 recently. Meanwhile, certain villages are still under isolation due to the spread of the coronavirus. The villages under isolation are Telambugahawatta in Akurana in the Kandy district, the Atulugama village in the Kalutara district, Kadumayan Kulam in the Putlam district, and Thavid in the Jaffna district.
The patient who died yesterday was around 43 years old. He had arrived from Italy. He displayed symptoms of the virus when he arrived in the island. He was then sent to a quarantine center. Thereafter, he was admitted to the Valikanda hospital in Polonnaruwa. He passed away while receiving treatment at the hospital's ICU. The deceased did not suffer any other health complications, such as high blood sugar or diabetes. This clearly shows the severity of this virus. From what we understand, there is no age barrier to contract the virus. Those who already suffer with other health complications are not the only ones who can be affected by COVID-19. What's important now is to work together to curb the spread of the virus.
I'm sure all of our viewers would agree that we are currently living in a very uncertain time, and with such times come the spread of false news, and authorities have been trying very hard to tackle this particular issue. Accordingly, the Sri Lanka police says rumours of a total shutdown of Sri Lanka from the 10th to the 15th of April, which is currently making the rounds, especially on social media, are false. Police media spokesperson SP Jalya Senaratne issued a media release today in response to fake news which has been circulating, claiming a total shutdown of the country, including essential services, between the 10th and 15th of April will occur. SP Jalya Senaratne said the general public should not be deceived by such false statements and stressed that such false social media posts must not be shared. He added the Criminal Investigations Department will launch an investigation into those who create such false content and those who share false content on social media platforms. A public health inspector who was on duty in the Pattampitiya area in Rambukkana has been attacked with a sharp weapon. The PHI was on duty at the time of the incident as part of the effort to curb the spread of COVID-19. Police said he is currently receiving treatment at the Rambukkana hospital for the injuries that he suffered. Police are on the lookout for the suspect, identified as a 15-year-old boy residing in the area who had fled following the incident. Now, the Government Medical Officers Association has been very vociferous during the time of the COVID-19 outbreak, and as such, the media spokesperson of the GMOA, Dr. Samantha Ananda, expressed these views regarding COVID-19 in the country.
In
addition to the people who have returned from overseas and those who have associated the returnees and other members of the community are also among those infected by the virus. This is a serious situation. We need to prevent this. We clearly stated that even the World Health Organization has recommended aggressive testing. This means that everyone should be tested as much as possible, and these tests should be conducted repeatedly. The Ministry of Health tells us that they can conduct between 750 to 1,000 tests per day. But unfortunately, they are only conducting 250 tests or even less than that. We don't understand why this is the case. By Monday, if our testing capacity is not increased, we as the Government Medical Officers Association will take the necessary measures to protect the general public. We cannot stand by and watch this happen. We should implement aggressive testing in the country. By doing this, we can both identify new patients and prevent the spread of the virus. The best example for the advantage of conducting aggressive testing was seen on the 31st of March. On that day, 20 people were tested and 10 of them tested positive. Both who displayed symptoms of the virus as well as those who did not were tested on that day. This clearly shows us that an increase in the number of testing, including conducting tests on people who do not show symptoms of the infection, can help us identify more patients.
Meanwhile, the testing of samples to identify COVID-19 patients commenced at the Jaffna Teaching Hospital today.
Now, health authorities here at home as well as authorities from the WHO or the World Health Organization have confirmed that testing potential patients who have been infected with COVID-19 is the most effective way to curb the spread of the COVID-19 virus. Accordingly, the government has decided to repeat tests on individuals who have suspected to have contracted COVID-19 and those who had come into contact with any such persons. Now, this was revealed at a progress review meeting at the nationwide program to curb the spread of COVID-19, and this was chaired by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa.
The meeting, held at the Presidential Secretariat, was attended by medical officers, the Commander of the Army, and members of the security forces. A communique issued by the Presidential Secretariat stated the government will continue to take decisions as it did before to combat the COVID-19 outbreak in the country based on the recommendations of professionals and specialists in the fields of medicine, security and law. At the meeting, it was decided to closely observe the spread of the virus across the globe and implement the recommendations made by the World Health Organization. It was agreed that the program launched by the government to combat COVID-19 will continue until the situation in the country takes a turn for the better. Speaking at the meeting, the chairman of the Government Medical Officers Association, Dr. Anuruddha Padeniya, said that the outbreak in the country was managed to a certain extent because of the swift measures that were implemented by the government. However, he added that the threat has not yet passed.
Now, authorities have taken steps to direct many people who were here in the country as well as many people who arrived from overseas. They have been directed to quarantine centers situated across the island. Now, a group of 280 people who completed the particular quarantine process returned to their relevant residences today. The army said that these people had undergone quarantine in the Katukeliava, Kandakadu and Iranamadu quarantine centers.
108 people who completed the quarantine process at the quarantine centres in the Sri Lanka Light Infantry Camp in Katukeliava, Minneria Polonnaruwa left for their homes today. They had returned to the country from India on the 20th of March. No one has to worry about this. We remained under quarantine for a period of 14 days and we were treated very well. No one should be afraid of the quarantine process.
They
treated us even better than our families do. We thank President Rajapaksa and the army for all the support. 7 students who returned from India were among the group who returned to their homes today.
Another 598 Sri Lankans are stuck overseas, unable to return to the island. We returned prior to the imposition of the lockdown restrictions. I urge everyone to look into this matter as well. We thank the army for all the support.
They were residents of Colombo, Kandy, Dambulla, Mathura and Kurunegala. The Sri Lanka Air Force said that 172 people left the quarantine centre at the Iranamadu Air Force Camp today. Meanwhile, 5 people who returned from India recently received their self-quarantine discharge certificate.
Currently, there is an island-wide curfew that is in effect and 242 people have been arrested for violating curfew between 6 a.m. and 12 noon today.
83 vehicles have been seized by the police during this time period. A total of 12,465 people have been arrested for violating curfew since it was imposed on the 20th of March. In addition, 3,100 vehicles have been seized during this period. Police curfew continues to be in effect across all districts in the island. Curfew in the Colombo, Gampaha, Kalutara, Puttalam, Kandy and Jaffna districts will continue to be in effect until further notice. Curfew in the remaining 19 districts will be lifted at 6 a.m. on the 6th of this month.
Meanwhile, 203 people who violated curfew in the Anuradhapura district were arrested today. Police said that these arrests had been made between last night and this afternoon. 35 motorcycles and a luxury vehicle have been impounded. A person who had transported dry rations using a banner containing the state symbol and the Sathosa logo have been arrested in the Talava area in Anuradhapura. Our correspondent said that the suspect had been transporting goods to shops in the area. A person who had engaged in an illicit liquor racket during curfew was arrested in Hungama. Police said that 30 litres of liquor, a barrel and a locally manufactured revolver used to fire T-56 rounds of ammunition were recovered from the suspect. The suspect has been identified as a 30-year-old resident of the same area. Meanwhile, police took measures to shut down shops and evict hawkers who were selling vegetables during curfew along the Kandy Road. 3 suspects who violated curfew have been taken into custody.
Now, many services in the service as well as production sector have been hampered as a result of the curfew that is in effect island-wide. Therefore, a special service to provide plumbing and electrical services during curfew will begin tomorrow.
This service is being implemented by the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka, the Ceylon Electricity Board, Lanka Electric Company and the National Water Supply and Drainage Board. The PUCSL in a statement said that a set of hotlines have been introduced to assist the public in obtaining plumbing and electrical services. The PUCSL said that the details of plumbers and electricians will be handed over to police stations and divisional secretariat offices in their respective areas. This service is being provided by registered electricians and plumbers in accordance with approved safety practices and guidelines during curfew hours. The PUCSL statement added that electricians and plumbers are advised to charge a reasonable fee and issue an acceptable receipt for the service they provide. By calling 1939, you can obtain plumbing services from the nearest plumber in your area.
Contact 1987 to obtain the assistance of electricians. We have a team of registered and trustworthy electricians. They will be sent to provide the required services. You can call us again on 1987 and provide a feedback on their service.
It is evident that people who live on a daily wage have been the hardest hit as a result of the curfew that is in effect as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic here in the country. As a result, they have been severely inconvenienced as well. This is a special report filed by Newsfirst.
Residents of the Red Cross village in Kovilgama Kantale are mostly daily wage labourers. However, they have been unable to engage in their jobs due to the ongoing curfew. These labourers, who have been unable to make ends meet, complain that officials have not looked into their issues so far. Have the officials come here and visited us? Have they inquired into how we eat and drink? Nothing has been done.
We are not allowed to obtain water from the Kantale river as well.
We are helpless. We can eat only if we earn money by working. The manner in which these residents collect the remaining sheaves of paddy to fulfill their needs brings a tear to anyone watching their plight. The residents of the Maningamua Ihala Oya Madua area in the Anuradhapura district have been severely affected due to the current situation. That is because most residents in the area do not have permanent employment. They make ends meet by selling their labour. We earn a living by engaging in labour. Considering the situation in the country, we are finding lives very difficult. We cook very little for us. People living in line rooms in Grand Pass are also facing difficulties at present, mainly because they have been unable to find food for themselves. These residents, who are also daily wage workers, do not have a mode of income at present.
මේ පැත්තේ දේශපාලන තකා තමයි බඩු දුන්නේ කාටවත් බඩගින්නනේ කාටවත් දෙන්න ඕන මේ අවස්ථාවේ එහෙම කරේ නැහැ මිනිස්සු හැම ගමින් ගමකටම ගෙනියනවා මේ පැත්තට විතරයි කුඩාමගේ සැලකිලි දීලා තියෙන්නේ.
Estate workers in Hatton are also facing hardships at present. They say that they have not been receiving sufficient food in the current situation. We stay at our homes as we do not have work these days. We have very little food and water for our consumption. We are finding it very difficult these days. We did not receive anything from the government. The people residing within the limits of the Kandy Municipal Council too have been affected at present. I am finding it very difficult these days. I used to earn a living by engaging in daily labor. Now I don't have money to even buy a single coconut. I didn't receive anything except for a relief pack provided by the Samudri department. Please look into our grievances and provide concessions to us as well.
They keep promising that they will give us what we want. However, nothing has been given to us so far.
Residents of the Samodagama area in the Hambantiri district are also among those who have not received sufficient food. Our correspondent said that the people in this area are finding it difficult to have 1 square meal per day. Most of the people here make a living by engaging in daily labor. Now we cannot go to work as well.
Staying on course with the same story now, we contacted Attorney-at-Law Tushara Dissanayake, who is the chairman of SATOSA, for a response on the part of the authorities regarding the issues faced by these people. He said that the mechanism that was set in place to deliver the pre-ordered goods has been amended. Now, according to the chairman of SATOSA, the regional orders must first be placed with the district secretary. Then the district secretary must forward these orders to the Commissioner of Essential Food. Goods will then be issued based on an goods will then be issued to the district secretary based on an order by the Commissioner of Essential Food, and that is the manner in which SATOSA will distribute the essential food items to regional centers. Here are some of the views expressed regarding the distribution of essential items during curfew.
When disbursing money to people through various state funds, everyone should remember that this is not anyone's personal wealth. This money belongs to the people of the country. This is the taxpayers' money. When providing relief through the people's money, that mechanism should be proper. A recommendation is for state officials only to handle this mechanism. Therefore, I would like to request the government to stop handing out benefits to the people through committees made up of local government representatives. Appoint an impartial and genuine group of state officials to steer the mechanism and create a transparent process to provide relief to those impacted by this situation. This should solely be done through the directive of state officials and the Triforces.
මේ සහන ලබා දීමේ සාධාරණ ක්‍රමවේදයක් ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්නයි කියලා.
And district සම්බන්ධීකරණ කමිටුව ඇසීමට අපි
Although they include us in the district coordination committees, at times like this, they issue circulars naming the member of the Pradesh Sabha as the head. They are creating a mechanism which undermines the authority of either the divisional secretary or the Grama Niladhari. Although they create lists giving prominence to certain people, those are later changed through amendments by the political representative of a given village. That is an issue. We will let the government have all the glory in a political sense, but we have to come out of this rut as a nation. The glory will be presented to the president and the mechanism entailing it, but when such amendments are made, the support of many responsible authorities is lost. Many officials who have the knowledge and skill feel demotivated. There is no use in the political representative attempting to head a certain effort when rightfully the Grama Niladhari should be leading the effort. When the Pradesh Sabha is converted into an essential service, officials such as the divisional secretaries are left without a task to fulfill. This politicization is done via the top brass and not with good intentions.
භූමි හැදෙන ප්‍රායෝගික ක්‍රියාකාරකම්.
මේ මුදල් බෙදනකොට අපි පැහැදිලිවම රජයට කියන්න කැමති.
We informed the government not to hand over the distribution of cash to Pradesh Sabha and provincial council members, but to implement it through the state mechanism. There is no need of political interference. It is with utter disgust we condemn anyone trying to give a political outlook to the programs at this time of disaster and against a backdrop where the people are faced with many issues. We vehemently request the government to provide a 25,000 rupee allowance before the 10th of April to plantation workers, three-wheeler drivers and day labourers, disregarding political party affiliations and racial or religious differences.
පක්ෂ පාට ජාති ආගම් සියලුම දෙයකින්ම තොරව මේක ලබා දෙන්නයි කියලා අපි මේ ඉල්ලීම ප්‍රබල ලෙස රජයෙන් අපි කරන්න කැමතියි.
Former parliamentarian Bhalita Thevara Peruma is a figure that has been much talked about in society, and today he visited a Satosa outlet in Kalutara. Footage of the MP's activity in the area has been making the rounds on social media.
Hello?
I came to Satosa to purchase some goods. However, the manager of this store is saying that I cannot purchase even a grain of rice. I wanted to purchase around 750 to 800 kilos of rice so that it could be cooked and distributed among villagers. I help people suffering from pressure and diabetes as well. Please speak to them and get some rice and dal for me. We are now joined by Newsfirst Shamir Rasuldeen, who is standing by in Studio R.
Thank you very much, Jamal. Joining me this evening on the show is Mr. Jayanta Karunaratne, Chairman of the Colombo Tea Traders Association, to talk about the impact of COVID-19 to the $1.5 billion tea industry in Sri Lanka. Stay connected, stay with News First. We will join you right now. Mr. Karunaratne, after 20 years of discussions, many committees being appointed, for the first time in its 150-year history for the tea industry in the country, finally the Colombo Tea Auction went on an e-platform today thanks to COVID-19. Now this is a big victory for the industry, isn't it?
Yes, definitely this is a big victory, because we could not have auctions for 2 weeks, and we were looking for an option how to start auction, because the producers need to be paid before the new year, and there are a lot of people who have worked, and they are all waiting for their wages before the new year. So then we requested the Colombo Brokers Association to come forward with a solution. So they came with the e-platform. So now this is the start of the e-platform for the tea auctioning.
Now, Mr. Karunaratne, despite exports have been made an essential service, including the packaging of tea, many tea exporters find it difficult to obtain curfew passes. It seems that the government mechanism here has completely collapsed. One hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing. It has become extremely difficult for the exporters to operate under these trying times. What is the reason behind this?
No, it's a big problem. Actually everybody is want to look after the producer, the tea plucker, the tea factory owner, to bring the goods to Colombo and auction it. So that's the beginning of the value chain. Unless we process, pack and ship, so we will not get the money. So the exporters cannot continue to buy tea. So this was explained today also at to the regulators, that if we don't look at the exporter side, this cannot go on for a longer period. So with the current curfew, it's very, very extremely difficult for us to work. Maybe if you look at, most of the exporters are working with about 20% capacity. So that is not enough. Their teas are blocked. They can't pack, they can't process, they can't export. So we have addressed it. The reason could be, I think, we have taken up with the government, and we told this: if we want to go forward in this industry, we need to sort out these issues of getting required curfew passes, required passes for the vehicles, and for the certify the factories, and also to open up certain government factories who give us support services.
Ms. Karunaratne, one of the biggest problems is the fact that the supply chain has completely collapsed. Those who provide packaging material, those who provide inner cartons, those who provide filter paper, and this is a time that Sri Lanka is looking at moving to the value-added arena. And do you think that such constraints are going to affect the tea industry as a whole in the long run?
Definitely, in the short run, we are experiencing a lot. Sometimes we have the tea, we have no required packing materials. So some people, you cannot wait, then you inform the buyer, you cannot ship the goods. If we don't support the supply chain, the suppliers of packing materials and other support services, we cannot move on. We have taken it up with at various levels, but still we have not seen a proper solution to it, because what they say is because of number of people working together. But what we have proposed them is PHI to come to these factories to certify that the factories are up to the standards given by the government or health authorities. If they can keep up to that standard, to allow them to work with keeping the distance, with complying all other health requirements, so they can work.
The depreciation of the rupee against the US dollar, now many might think, Mr. Karunaratne, that the exporters are making money in a situation of this sort, but that is not the case. How do you think the government should step in to boost the country's economy as well as strengthening the rupee, which is depreciating rapidly against the US dollar?
The number one is, some people think the exporters make money out of it. No, it's not so. Most of the countries we supply our teas, also their currencies have come down. Russia, if you take Russia, their ruble is depreciated more than 20% during the last 1 month with the lowering of oil prices. And Turkey has a problem. Many countries have depreciated, so they all want us to discount our prices, so we don't make money. And also we borrow, most of the exporters borrow dollars, so when you pay back in dollars, so actually there is no gain for us. And if you are
there's in fact a big loss.
It's a big loss sometimes, because if your borrowings are more and your proceeds, liabilities are less. If your liabilities are more and if your assets are less, you have to adjust your accounts monthly, then you lose further. So it's not not something the exporters make money.
Mr. Karunaratne, the government seems to be giving stepmotherly treatment on an industry that produces and brings in 1.5 billion US dollars, generates over 600,000 employment opportunities directly as far as the country's employment is concerned. But there is stepmotherly treatment meted out against the tea industry at present. What is the reason behind this? Because more focus is on the apparel sector as well as tourism, and the tea industry has been thrown to the bin at present.
No, actually now you said 600,000 is not correct. If direct and indirect, it's about 2 million people.
Absolutely.
That's about 10% of Sri Lanka population. So this 10% of Sri Lanka population depend on this industry. So with regard to stepmotherly treatments, it is one way it's correct, because most of the regulators, they look at the producer side, the people who work for the factories, people who pluck tea, and that level. But sometimes they don't understand the bringing tea to the auction is not the end. Most of the people are very concerned about the auction. So auction was held today. So, but then what's next? The exporters have to buy, they have to process, and they have to ship.
Do you think, Mr. Karunaratne, that the government should provide a stimulus package to the tea industry right now? Because right now, if you look at all the industries in Sri Lanka which brings in foreign currency, the tea industry has only stepped up to its role. So do you think that the government should provide a stimulus package to the tea industry in the short term?
Actually on the current situation, only tea industry stood up and we said we can work. We are the entire industry, all levels, people are working. We are all struggling to continue, and we don't want to break this our supply to the world. So we are continuing. Actually, as a whole, we have not asked for any dole-outs or any grants from the government. Only thing is the exporters asked for to extend the packing credit loan by about 2 months, because the money is coming very slow. That is not going to cost the government anything. Anyway, the exporters will pay the interest to the bank. And the producer sector also asking for a short-term loan for about 8 days, for these auction teas. The prompt date is next 15th. For until that time, the producer is asking 8 days interest-free loan. So that's the only thing we have asked from the government. But we asked from the government the help, in the sense to work. Because tea people can work. But what we want is to make facilities for us to work. We have not asked for any financial help from the government.
Mr. Karunaratne, being an exporter myself, I've been now in the industry for the last 3.5 years. What I have noticed most of the time is the fact that the tea industry, the stakeholders are divided on many issues, like the liberalization of the tea industry, even on the e-platform, people were divided, and that is why for 20 years we were not able to introduce the e-platform. And only after COVID-19 we were able to implement such a platform. What is your message to the industry as a whole, at large? What must they do to step in in a situation like this?
This e-platform was, people have discussing for more than 20 years. But it came to a situation we had no option but to look for it. So that made us the way to go forward. So fortunately we managed to, introduce this to sell, part of our tea today, and it is continuing tomorrow and day after. So, what you said, the industry is divided. Yes, they are divided on the importation, but still we have no consensus about that. But, this time it was proved that all were together. The exporters, the brokers, the plantation companies, the factory owners, smallholders, we were all together. Actually, I just finished a meeting with the 22 stakeholders of our CTTA committee. They all praised, that we are united, we are all fighting to continue with our business. So it's a good opportunity, good time. We all realize that we need each one of us. So we have to work together. If we don't work together, we can't go forward.
Mr. Karunaratne, united we stand tall. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Mr. Jayantha Karunaratne, Chairman of the Colombo Tea Traders Association, talking about the impact on COVID-19 as far as the tea industry, which is contributing to $1.5 billion to the country's economy, is concerned. When you are on your own, we are always with you. Stay connected, stay with News First. It's back to the main news desk.
Taking a look at the global situation pertaining to COVID-19, as at 6 p.m. Sri Lankan time, worldwide corona cases stood at 1,133,771, while 60,396 deaths had been reported and 236,000 people had recovered from the virus. Now, taking a look at the 10 worst affected countries as a result of COVID-19, topping the list is the USA with 277,607 cases and 7,406 deaths. Spain comes in second as 124,736 total COVID-19 cases have been reported and 11,744 deaths have been reported. Italy has reported 119,827 cases of coronavirus with 14,681 deaths. Germany has reported 91,159 cases of COVID-19 with 1,275 deaths. And France has recorded 82,165 cases of COVID-19 with 6,507 deaths being recorded. Now, the other countries which have been worst affected by COVID-19 are China, Iran, UK, Turkey and Switzerland.
With more than 1,100 deaths in a single day, the highest total for a 24-hour period anywhere in the world, America remains the country with the most confirmed cases of COVID-19. New York State, the worst hit state in the United States, had its highest increase in deaths for one day at 562. US President Donald Trump said the Centers for Disease Control recommended that face masks should be worn in public, but added that he wouldn't be wearing one. Meanwhile, in the United Kingdom, the government has told people to stay at home this weekend as the weather is expected to turn warm and people may flock to parks and public spaces. Health Secretary Matt Hancock has called for volunteers to take part in 3 major clinical trials that include looking at how existing drugs could be used to treat the virus. In addition, a 3-minute silence has been held in China in remembrance of those who have died in the country's coronavirus outbreak. The nation was brought to a halt at 10 a.m. local time, with cars, trains and ships sounding their horns and air raid sirens ringing out. Flags were also flown at half-mast. The World Health Organization has warned that if countries rush to lift their restrictions, it will prolong the crisis. Singapore, which relaxed certain restrictions for a week, will now shut down all schools and most workplaces and severely limit social interactions and movement outside homes from next week, as it puts in place a circuit breaker to stem the spike in local coronavirus cases.
There are more people out there who are infected, but who have not been identified. And they may be passing the virus unknowingly to others. But looking at the trend, I am worried that unless we take further steps, things will gradually get worse, or another big cluster may push things over the edge. We will therefore impose significantly stricter measures. This is like a circuit breaker. It will help to reduce the risk of a big outbreak occurring.
As Russian cities go into lockdown to try to contain coronavirus, Moscow is using the latest technology to keep track of residents. City officials are using a giant network of tens of thousands of cameras installed with facial recognition software, which they plan to couple with digital passes on people's mobile phones. Meanwhile, a police robot has been deployed to patrol areas of Tunisia's capital, Tunis, to ensure that people are observing a coronavirus lockdown. If it spies anyone walking in the largely deserted streets, it approaches them and asks them why they are out. Addressing the people of India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed the following views.
5 April को
Today marks 9 days of the nationwide lockdown against the corona pandemic. The discipline and spirit of service you have displayed during this period is unprecedented and embodies the true meaning of both. On the 5th of April, on Sunday, I want 9 minutes from all of you. Listen carefully, turn off all the lights in your homes, stand at your doors or in your balconies and light candles or diyas, torches or mobile flashlights for 9 minutes.
मोबाइल की फ्लैशलाइट जलाएं.
Main sponsor.
In more news from here at home, the Saubhagya National Program on Harvesting and Cultivation, which aims to develop 1 million home gardens, was launched today. Now, the program is being implemented under the supervision of the Ministry of Irrigation, Mahawali Development and Agriculture, with the aim of making Sri Lanka self-sufficient in terms of food production. Now, a media briefing was held at the Department of Government Information today to create awareness on this program. Sri Lanka imports many essential items. This is the most pertinent time to begin this program. A packet of seeds, which includes 5 varieties of vegetables including capsicum and okra, will be provided to each household at a cost of just 20 rupees. The government has borne a cost of more than 150 rupees to produce these packets. They will be distributed through Samurdhi offices. This is a program which was planned for over 2 months. According to our predictions, at least 75% of this will in fact be grown. However, if these expire, it will not grow. There are more than 4 million school students in Sri Lanka and nearly 200,000 teachers. There are 1.4 million state workers. Think of this as a service you are rendering to the nation. If we are able to produce all the goods that we spend millions of US dollars to import, we can be proud of ourselves as a nation. The Ministry of Agriculture is providing its expertise to the villagers. We need to support this effort. I would like to convey that message. A government drive to encourage cultivation at households began today. The opening ceremony was held at a dairy farm under the purview of the National Livestock Development Board in Ridiyagama, Hambantota. Chairman of the National Livestock Development Board, Professor Manjula Magamage, presided over the event. The program is being implemented under the supervision of the Ministry of Mahaweli, Agriculture, Irrigation and Rural Development in a bid to make Sri Lanka self-sufficient for food. As an institution which has 30,000 acres of land under its purview, the National Livestock Development Board, together with the Ministry of Agriculture, has joined this program to ensure food security in the country. As the chairman of the Livestock Development Board, I am happy about this. Now, News First has constantly shed light on the hardships faced by farming communities in the country, although they render an unparalleled service to our nation. Now, we draw your attention towards the plight of farmers in Ambilipitia.
Agriculture is the primary mode of income for families in the Panhadua area in Ambilipitia. Farmers in this area have been badly affected as they are unable to sell their produce at a good price. The vegetables cultivated by these farmers include cucumber, okra, gourds and corn. Farmers here claim to be victims of profiteering by middlemen. We cannot fetch a good price for our produce. Traders don't come here. If they do, they purchase our goods for prices such as 20 or 30 rupees per kilo. We cannot benefit by selling goods at these rates. As a result of this, we have had enough of farming. We request the Ministry of Agriculture to purchase goods at a reasonable rate from us.
The wholesale rate is around 30 rupees, but in the market they are sold at around 110 or 150 rupees. This is an injustice to farmers.
Recently, they purchased vegetables from us at 30 rupees per kilo and sold it at around 400 rupees. These farmers request the relevant authorities to provide a curfew permit for at least one farmer in the village, as it's done for wholesale traders. They say that this would enable them to sell their produce directly without having to depend on intermediaries.
Fishing communities have also been hard hit as a result of the status quo in the country. Here is their story.
The government permitted fishermen to go out to sea even during the curfew. The Trincomalee wholesale fish market was kept open in line with that decision. Accordingly, fishermen were able to bring their catch directly to the market. However, surplus was seen after fishermen had caught large stocks of fish during this period. Our correspondent stated that there is no mechanism to distribute the excess stocks among the other areas in the country. We have been storing the excess stock using ice over the last few days. The government should implement a proper plan. As a result of awarding favours to their friends, we have been affected. The government has granted permission to fishermen to go out to the sea. However, we cannot go out and trade these fish. They give us this pass at 5 p.m, but the fishermen come at night. We request authorities to resolve this problem. To whom can we sell our catch if traders don't come to the market? We made inquiries regarding this matter from Trincomalee District Secretary Asanka Abewardana. We received several complaints on people from high-risk zones engaging in trade in the market. Therefore, the Health Ministry instructed us to close down the Trincomalee fish market and to implement another mechanism in this regard. Therefore, we have decided to close down the market from tomorrow.
Members of the clergy chimed in on the issue of reconvening Parliament.
Certain parties are now requesting to convene the Parliament that was dissolved. We cannot believe that reconvening Parliament would provide solutions to the issues that we are facing now. Convening Parliament now would only impede the steps taken by the government to combat the virus. There are 225 parliamentarians and they will begin to act based on their political agendas, and that could lead to a conflict in the country. There can be programs launched against the steps taken by the government. What we need now is to strengthen the steps that have been taken by the government. So I request everyone not to spread these opinions and start interpreting it in various ways. Was the Parliament responsible for the steps that were taken thus far? So we clearly state that these statements are made to distract the government. The president shouldn't pay heed to these statements. The people in the country are not in favor of these proposals. I have heard that millions of rupees are spent to convene parliament for a single sitting. We can spend that money to help the patients who have been affected by the virus.
Here are some of the views expressed by politicians in relation to the need to reconvene parliament.
Today some people are saying we don't need a parliament. Some are saying just having a president is enough. They are saying that they need an authoritarian ruler. We are not desperate to go to parliament, but we have an issue that we don't have a place to speak about the issues of the people. If you cannot convene parliament, how are the cases being taken up in courts? And what about the people who have been accused of the most heinous crimes? We would like to ask the rulers of the country not to play political games during the coronavirus outbreak. Do not attempt to find ways to release criminals during this crisis. Do not convene party leaders' meetings for show and strike political deals. Instead, implement a proper program for the betterment of the country. If parliament is convened, we will be contributing to the spread of the virus rather than containing the virus. There are many parliamentarians and many members of the staff there. I believe that this is being done with good intentions. We are ready to attend parliamentary sessions and resolve the issues relating to COVID-19 outbreak without being paid any salary or allowance. We are ready to attend parliamentary sessions and committee meetings while maintaining social distancing. Section 113 of the Parliamentary Elections Act states that if the Election Commission fails to hold the election on the date determined by the President can set another date for the elections. But the Parliamentary Elections Act does not specify any time period that the President should set the date in. So the President has the legal power to conduct the elections when the country is stable after the end of the COVID-19 outbreak. If you look at this practically, the parliament will have to be convened because according to the constitution, the new parliament should convene 3 months after parliament has been dissolved. The Elections Commission is also of the stance that parliament should convene. But there are no provisions in the constitution on the steps that should be taken if parliament is not convened during such a crisis. There is no way of preventing this from becoming a constitutional crisis. At a time when the general elections have been postponed indefinitely, the parliament should be convened immediately. If not, the government will have to face many issues on the legitimacy of the government and the legal capability of the government to allocate funds after the end of the next month. If the government wants to avoid these legal issues and avoid a constitutional crisis, parliament must be convened immediately.
And that's a wrap of primetime news for tonight. However, we leave you tonight with the Mythbusters segment, debunking certain false stories that have been making the rounds on social media. Take care and good night.
There have been messages circulating that the World Health Organization will be initiating protocols and procedure of lockdown periods for controlling the virus. However, the WHO clearly said that all necessary lockdown procedures and durations are determined at the country level and are based on the needs and the situation of each country. Now, a theory that exposing yourself to the sun or to temperatures higher than 25 degrees Celsius can prevent you from contracting the COVID-19 is being highly shared on the internet. This is, however, false, and you can catch the COVID-19 no matter how sunny or hot the weather is. Also, countries with hot weather have reported cases of COVID-19.